It's going to be a video on doing a caliber change on a Dillon 1050, and I only do 45 and 308 on this machine because I don't have to change out the bottom end of the machine at all, so I'm not going to be doing anything on doing the bottom. This is just going to be a real short video on how to change out the top end of the machine. And Dillon or the 1050s are, that's one of the downfalls of this machine, is that it's very expensive to have quick change calibers. You're going to have to buy the tool head. You know, it's just an expensive machine to do caliber changes on, and so that's why I've got a 650 as well. Alright, I did a run of about 2,000 rounds of 45 ammo, and now I'm going to switch it over and run about 1,000 rounds of 308. And I set this 1050 up purposely for 308 and 45. So the first thing I'm going to do is, I've still got some cases in the case feeder, and I'm going to pull that case tube out, and I'm going to move it over, or I'm just going to swing it out of the machine there and let it go into a bucket. Alright, so now that the case feeder is empty, I'm going to reach up top. I'm going to pull out the feed plate, and this one's for our large pistol, 45, and I'm going to switch it to that one up top there, and that's going to be for the 308. So all I'm going to do is drop it in the top here, give it a little spin until it seats, and that's done. And so all I need to do now is pull this tube out and pull this red guy out, which is for the 45 pistol, and I'm going to come over to my 308 setup, and I'm going to grab the one for the 308 feed, and I'm going to set it on there, get it right, and then I'm going to put the tube back on, and it's as simple as snapping it back in there. So the case feeder is ready for 308. All I need to do now is change the tool head. I don't have to do anything down below. I need to make sure all the large pistol primers are out, which I've already done, and change tool head. And the only thing I have to do to change tool head is take out that cotter pin right there on the powder feeder, and then I'll go to that bolt there, and it's as simple as that. So to change it, the first thing we're going to do, we're going to pull this pin out and drop this rod off. That's what resets the powder measure every time. It's sort of a fail-safe. And then we're going to take this bolt out on the tool head, and I'm going to get this tube out of the way, even though I just changed that. That's no big deal. And I'm just going to take this big center bolt out here. Once the big bolt is out, it takes a little bit of finagling to get this thing out of here. And the tool head is actually held up by this big spring back here. I don't know if you can see that or not. What you want to do is you want to lower the handle out, let it fall, and then sort of swing it out, and then unhook it from the safety here, and then lift it right on off of there. And there you go. That's the tool head for the 45, and I'm going to be replacing it with a 308. And there's really nothing to change. Everything's done. The only thing I have to do to the machine is, I don't know if this is in the camera, but I'm going to have to raise up this swaging rod to be able to swage the military brass, take out that crimp. So the 308s are on the left, and I'm sorry, the 45 is on the left there, and I'm going to pick up that 308 tool head, and I'm just going to sit on top of there and do my best to get it on there without looking like I don't know what I'm doing. So you sort of got to finagle this thing in here. You got to get it on this mainspring here. Get your safety catch. Get this rod to come through here, and then you sort of just line it up. It's a little tricky, and then you raise the handle and get this thing back in the center here, and it'll come up there. There you go. And then just put the bolt back on. And once you have that bolt just finger tight, you want to lower the tool head all the way down, so these guide rods are going to hold that tool head nice and square. We're going to put our ratchet on here, and we're going to run her on home. Now the tool head's on there nice and tight. Put the adapter in, feed the bullet, or feed the casing, I'm sorry. We're going to put this tube in. We're going to snap it in up top here. And the only thing I have to do now is to raise the swaging rod. And the way I'm going to do that, I'm going to bring the handle all the way back up. And I mark that rod with a razor blade to be able to raise it up to where, you know, the depth that I chose to swage the brasses. The only reason that I lower the swaging rod out for 45 brass is there's no backer up here. If something weren't lined up, or let me show you what the backer is. That's what holds that shell against that plate, so that the swage rod can swage out that crimp, that military crimp. And you can leave it up for 45, but if for some reason it didn't line up, this thing's so powerful that it can bust this shell plate right off, and you don't want that to happen. And it's no big deal to lower it. So all you want to do is come down here with a 1/2" wrench, loosen what I tighten, and run it on up until I get to where I marked it with a razor blade all the way around, and then I'll tighten it back down. So I put the pin back on the fail-safe rod, and for each caliber change you're going to need to adjust the tension down here and make sure that it compresses the spring. Make sure that your powder feeder feeds every time. And then also you just want to do a check on how the machine works. Make sure everything's going smooth before you start putting your brasses in. And it's really just that simple. Once it's all calibrated, changing the tool head over is no big deal. Now if you were changing shell plates and all that, it gets a little more extensive. And that's why I just use this machine for those two calibers alone. And then the 650, I do my 9mm, my 223 on that, and a couple other things. But this one mainly I just do the 308 or the 762x51 NATO, which is that's the beauty of this machine, is it's got the swagers built right into it, and so all in one process. If you got clean brass, and you can just put it in here, case lube it, and run it. You don't have to do any of the swaging and all. Of course, you need to worry about case length. But this was just a simple little video on a caliber change on a 1050, but it's a simple video of doing it. Like I said, if you had to change all the bottom end of it, it gets a little more extensive. So I'll get a video out real soon on doing a run of 308. I'm getting ready to do, I don't know, I might do 1,000 rounds. I may do 2,000. I have no idea if I got time. So you guys have a great night. We'll see you next time.